Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to those of you that were in Zuigan Calls yesterday. Really nice day, nice turnout, and of course, welcome to those of you who were not and are here today. Sandra, we still have your daughter in the house. I don't know if you could hear her there, see her there. But it's been lovely having Melanie Arsoko here in Los Angeles with us. And just a reminder that the Zindo, the home, is open now completely to everyone that's vaccinated and not sick. So regardless of what city or state you live in, come on over. You know, we've got room to put people up, and it's nice being together. Yeah, I think we had 16, 17, 18 people, depending on time of day, at Zuigan Calls yesterday. So really nice participation. And happy Father's Day, you know,
Happy Father's Day
to anybody that's a father and anybody that had a father. So I think that pretty much includes everyone, one way or the other. I will try to keep today's Dharma talk under an hour. I think yesterday it ran to about an hour, and then a really rich discussion following. But there's been somewhat of a thread through our talks 2 weeks ago, or I guess it was just last Sunday, we did Tokusan's completion of study, if you will remember. And, you know, that koan opens with exhaust the end. And there's instant attainment. And we talked about that. You know, what does exhausting the end mean? And what is completion of study? And then yesterday, in the middle of a lot of storytelling, we talked about Joshu's Wash Your Bowls, which also is about attainment and enlightenment and what next. And, you know, how do you wear whatever glimpse of the vast emptiness you've seen or touched or felt? You know, how do you wear that? What do you do with it? And of course, Joshu's instructions to the monk is get back at it, wash your bowls. And we also talked about a particular view on that koan of what it means that came out of my Shuso Hosan ceremony, which was, what does it mean to wash your bowls? And one way of looking at that is cleaning out and opening up your heart, allowing for love and compassion to come streaming in and emanate outward. There's been a thread through these talks and others, and it's pretty consistent with Zen practice in general, of what role do I play in this? What do you do with it? How are you going to manifest this? You know, so that it's not just the mouths of all the Buddhas through all the 3 times hanging on the walls, but it's something live and real for today. Kind of funny thing happened last night as we finished Zuigan Calls, and I was looking at what would today's talk be, and this has no real relevance except that it's a fun story, or maybe it does, I don't know. But I first thought about the koan that I am going to do today, which is Zuigan Calls Himself Master, which is case 12 in the Mumonkan. And then it occurred to me, I was also looking at Jizo plants his fields, because that relates to, and so I was kind of bouncing back and forth, like which one will I do today? And And so without even realizing it, I just was looking at these two koans, and I said, well, maybe I'll go check my notes from my time with Roshi on one of these. And so I'm looking at my notes, and it turns out that Jizo Plants the Fields is case 12 of Book of Equanimity. Zuigan calls himself Master is case 12 of the Mumonkan. And when I went to look at my notes in my notebook, were my notes from this one, followed by my notes from Roshi's Dharma talk on this one, on the same page in the notebook. So it's just, I don't know, just weird coincidence. But like, how does that line up, or all of a sudden? So I think we'll do Jizo next week. Why not? But we'll do Zuigan this week. And just go with it. So.
But what about number 12 table?
Oh, and then Lori and I went out for dinner last night, and we got the table number 12, the little thing that goes on. This was prior to all the 12-12 thing. We got the table number 12, and we're sitting there patiently waiting for our food, and patiently waiting for our food, and patiently waiting for our food. And the waiter comes and delivers our food to the table next to us, which also had the number 12. So anyway, I think I'm going to move to Topanga Canyon now and just start, doing numerology and crystals. And 12 is joy in numerology? Yeah, okay, thanks. 12. Zuigan calls himself Master. The case. Every day Master Zuigan used to call himself Master and would answer, yes. Again he would call, thoroughly awake, thoroughly awake. And he would answer, yes, yes. Then he would say, don't be deceived by others, any day or any time. And he would say, no, no. So the commentary on this Mumon's commentary is, old Zuigan himself buys and sells. He has many puppet gods and devils with which he plays. But why? Look, one is calling, one is answering. One keeps awake, one is not deceived by others. But if you get stuck there, that's not it. If you were to imitate Zuigan, it would be the understanding of a fox. Then there's the verse. The reason those who learn the way don't realize the truth is simply that they perceive the discriminating consciousness they've had all along. It is the origin of endless life and death. Fools take it for the essential self. It's kind of a scary verse, scary little poem. But let's look at the main case itself. And Gabriel, I see you just joined. It's very short. Every day, Master Zuigan used to call himself Master, and he himself would answer himself with yes. Again, he would call, thoroughly awake, and then he himself answered himself by saying, yes, yes. Then he would say, don't be deceived by others, any day or time, and he would answer himself, no, no. So, we've either got a case of schizophrenia or, or just being way too tired, or egocentricity, or some real mastery going on here. And given that it's one of the koans that comes to us throughout time, we should probably look at it from a point of view of mastery. Zuigan was a Zen master. Now remember last week, those of you that were with us, that we talked about this concept of a master practicing versus practicing to be a master. You remember that? And this is that idea that you just take on, I am the master of this. I am Buddha. I am the awakened one. I am peace and calm. I am the precepts, and therefore I do these things and say these things. Therefore I live like this. And there was also we talked about the kind of formula of say, do, be versus be, do, say, right? So often we think in life that I need to say this and do this, and then someday I'll be this. And we talked about, well, why not reverse that and be the Buddha and live accordingly? Be awakened and live accordingly. Then things like the precepts become much less of rules than just a way to be. And then we also talked about the mouths of all Buddhas throughout the 3 times hanging on the wall, and what was that about? And there were 2 ways of looking at that, right? Was if you take this on and bring it to life, you're making it real right now for everyone else. And you don't actually need all the liturgy and all the books and the book club and, memorizing everything, because you are it. So, it's like, it puts history in its place. But the flip side of that also is if you don't bring it to life, and Melanie was beautiful on this when she talked about it from an acting point of view, then the whole lineage, the whole practice just becomes a series of stuff on the wall, lifeless. So there's really an urging in all of these koans we're looking at, and particularly these last 3, of what are you going to do with it? And I remember when Roshi talked on this koan some bit time ago, at least in my notes that I saw, so I don't know whether he said it or whether I wrote it, doesn't really matter. The buck stops here. Because ultimately in our practice, the buck stops here. It doesn't matter who your teacher is, how renowned they are or not. It doesn't matter what pilgrimage you go on. It doesn't matter, how fine your robes are. Whether the zendo is a living room or a storefront church or a monastery. Ultimately, you have to bring this to life. And then yesterday, Jacob mentioned, and I think I have the words right, Jacob, so correct me if I'm wrong, but we were talking about that tendency that some of us have, and evidently Jacob and I share this, to prejudge people as they walk into the room or into your life, and assume that you know what they're up to, and you've got already all this baggage coming when somebody's coming in. And so he said that he has a Post-it note on his computer, and I think it says everyone is Buddha, or everyone is the Buddha.
Everyone you meet is the Buddha.
Everyone you meet is the Buddha. Well, that's kind of sweet mitigation of being a jerk, right? It's and we all are. No, I mean, I'm playing with you, Jacob, because I'm there with you, right? But look what he did. He just took and put a Post-it note in front of himself that says, everyone you meet is the Buddha. It's a reframing. It's a creating of a context. This is I'm a master, and this is how I'm going to try to approach things. Roshi also tells the story of Jerry Shinshin Wick, who is the author of the Book of Equanimity, who compiled these koans and commentary with the help of Maezumi Roshi. And he had a Post-it note that he put evidently on the mirror of his bathroom and on the refrigerator door and different places in his life. And his Post-it note was not to. So wherever he went, he was reminding himself that it is not to. It's all one big one, not two. This is another way of saying everyone you meet is the Buddha, but that was Shenshin's way of reminding himself and coaching himself. That this thing called delusion, the splitting of the light, the splitting of one into two, is not the truth. It's not two. And we talked a little bit yesterday about delusion in that way, the splitting of one into two. It can happen in our lives, in our relationships, in our work, in our sanghas. And the practice is all about putting an end to that splitting. Delusion is inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to it. To bring that split back together. In the homepage of our website, such as it is, we talk about reconciliation, working across barriers, crossing the divide. That is not two. Not two. In some of my work up on the mountain, and in a lot of my Dharma talks, that one of the words I use a lot is this, work with a lot, is this why, this persistent why. Why did Bodhidharma come from the West? Why this? Why that? It comes up a lot in the koans. It's a really potent word for me because why brings up there must be a reason, with this reason and meaning making machine inside my skull. And a reminder as we study Zen and everything that maybe it's the absence of why that is the beauty and the splitting coming back together. Roshi and I were talking about this, and he said his word is who. Who? That's the one word, the turning word that has guided him for decades. Is who? Who is this one that sees through these eyes, hears through these ears? You'll hear him say that over and over. Who is this one? So who? Why? Not two. Everyone you meet is the Buddha. Or Master. Yes. Okay? So now you start seeing this one. Master. He starts every day with Master. It's like he's looking in the mirror and saying, Master. And then he answers and says, yes. So he makes a declaration of, yes, I am a master, and this is the way I will be. Thoroughly awake, thoroughly awake. You can hear the question in it and the declaration when he says, yes, yes. And then do not be deceived any day or time. Do not be deceived by others any day or any time. And the answer there is no, no. This is a master putting markers, putting post-it notes. This is pre-post-it, right? Pre-3M. This is a master's pre-chemical post-it note. Do not be deceived by others any day or any time. No. No. This is taking it on. This is saying the only one that can make this real and bring it to life is the one right here. The one asking why, the one asking who, the awakened one right here. It's interesting, Yamada Roshi in the commentary on this koan, when he's looking at that final line, do not be deceived by others any day or any time. It's easy to read that as like, okay, be careful. Paul's up to something. Do not be deceived by him. I'm gonna be a master, and I'm not gonna fall into the pit of Paul's delusion. But actually, Yamada opens up a different perspective on that, which is more like the mouths of all Buddhas through the 3 times hanging on the walls. It's like, and it's a lot like wash your bowls. Who is that other? That other can be the one right here just as well, claiming enlightenment. Wash your bowl. Right? The other can be an attachment or intoxication to or with the liturgy and the robes and the practice and the chanting and walking around as we played with yesterday, bowing to doorknobs and saying, "Oh, Sandra, I think your life would be so much better if you just were Zen." And try doing that to somebody who cuts you off in traffic and see how it goes. We had a good laugh. We had a good laugh at that. The grumpy checker at the grocery store. And you really should come to Prajna Heart Zen Center. I think it would make you a better person, and you'd be a more efficient checker too, right? It's like. I was thinking about. We also talked about, can you clean someone else's bowl? And I love words and language, and I thought later, right? Probably the response is, no. Let me clean your clock.
Can I interject?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love about my mother is that when people do cut her off in traffic, she has the best insults. They are poetic. So I think it's funny that you say that right now.
Yeah, right. Well, good going, Sandra. Good going, Sandra.
Oh, it's really good insults.
I don't know if you heard that, but she's talking about her mother, Sandra, and she said one of the things that on the screen here, Sandra, and she said one of the things she loves about her mother is that she has the best insults for people cutting her off in traffic.
It's entertainment.
But anyway, do not be deceived by others. You have to be responsible for this practice and for keeping it true and pure and alive. And often we are the best at deceiving ourselves. So there's a lot of seeming talk and self-talk in this koan, which seems a little nutty in a way. But it really is also this master practicing. And as the story is told, Zuigan, this was his practice before his enlightenment, before he had realization. And he continued it until his death after his enlightenment. So this is pre-eating the rice gruel and post-washing the bowl. Okay, this is somebody that had the presence of practice to say, okay, yeah, I saw it. And I'm responsible for it. The buck stops here. How do I keep it to life? Are you the master right now? Yes. Are you awake? Yes. Are you deceiving yourself or being deceived by your attachments, your intoxications, or others? No. This also goes to intentionality, and which is a big thing, that we talk about a lot in this Sangha is, what is your intention? What is your declaration? What do you declare into existence coming out of, I think originally est and landmark, but what do you declare into existence? The Declaration of Independence. It's a document, right? But that document declared into existence a new nation. Not one that would be perfect, but one that would be liberty and justice for all to the best extent that it could. You know, sometimes it works better than others. And sometimes we need to declare into existence a national holiday called Juneteenth as we continue to practice and evolve as awakened beings in a country. So this declaring, proclaiming, taking a stance, setting intention, the Emancipation Proclamation. Right? I'm not a great historian, but I read enough that it was interesting because, there was the Emancipation Proclamation by Lincoln that he wrote, and we do use this in some of the teaching I use. He wrote and then put aside until it was strategically the right timing, to bring it forward and during the time of the Civil War. But that Emancipation Proclamation, when it was made official, there was still a lot of slave ownership and a lot of repression going on. And I believe Juneteenth actually comes right out of Texas.
Galveston.
Right?
Yeah.
Galveston, Texas. And then because it was, I think, 10 months later or something that, couple years, unfortunately, before the governor of, like I said, I'm not the historian. Anyway, there was a period of time after emancipation was proclaimed before, it started catching up. And here we are, how many years later, declaring a holiday to continue to try to make equity real. But this declaration and intention is so important. And Zuigan is doing that too. He's declaring a master into existence. He's declaring his awakening into existence. And declaring the intention not to be deceived into existence every day. Got it. Yeah. Emancipation Proclamation only freed slaves in the Confederacy, not in the Union or border states. And there was I don't know if we should go down there, but it was so strategic because he knew he would lose the border states if he told them that they couldn't have slaves. So he declared that the people on the other side of the war could not have slaves and just didn't kind of say anything about the middle states or the Union states, therefore not losing their support. And it was all a masterful game of chess that went on, which Brenda Lee also goes a little bit to the conversation of like, how do you get out of people what you really want to know? Lincoln was a master of being patient and riding the horse in the direction it was going and being strategic about the chess pieces. So there's the part in the verse, I'm not going to read it exactly, but it says you try to imitate Zuigan and you will be lost, essentially. Or try to imitate Zuigan and it will be to little avail. And so then, it's kind of like, well, Dan, why are you doing this Dharma talk? Why share this with me? Why talk about declaration and talking to the mirror and Jacob's post-it and Shinshin's post-it and your word, intention's word, right? Because that sounds like great technique. I'm going to start putting post-its everywhere. Or I'm just going to simply say, Master, yes. Thoroughly awake, yes, yes. So what is Secho saying in his verse when he says, don't attempt imitating this? Now this goes to great art and great writing, right? It is possible to do exactly what Zuigan did and not be imitating Zuigan. Okay? Just as great acting or great writing or great painting brings reality into existence and evokes it for you versus imitating it. You know, it's that difference between a great piece and a mediocre piece, right? Mediocre is imitation, and a great piece is just like, where am I? How did that happen? I've been transported. So that's the essence of this. You know, don't take this lightly and just go, oh, I can do that. You know? And you can do it exactly if it's true. But the real question is, how do you bring it to life? What is your word? What is your phrase? What is your music? What is your stroke of the paintbrush? What is your look in the mirror? You know, find it and use it. And it might evolve over time, or like Master Zuigan's, it might always be the same. But find it and use it as long as it works, as long as it's creating results. Because it's up to each of us every day, every moment, to bring our mastery into existence, to make it real by who we're being, and then what we're doing and what we're saying. And claim it. The awakened state, the Buddha that is all of us. Yes! 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 All right, over to you. Paul.